In the shadows, Boeing is progressing with the slow development of a new single-aisle jet to replace the 737 MAX. With a desire for information on how the future of aircraft will be powered, reporting from Aviation Week and other sources has emerged that they've issued an RFI to evaluate advanced ducted propulsion systems. Much of the current interest from plane makers surrounding new aircraft certainly revolves not just around innovation being at the forefront, but that innovation centering around how the planes they're looking to produce will be powered. It extends beyond that to even just fundamentals such as the wing structure. It's getting it right. Obviously, we are still so far away from these new commercial airliners actually being launched. Now is the crucial time when testing is conducted, ideas are pitched, and a refined design is eventually achieved. Especially as sustainability initiatives continue to gain prominence, the efficiency and ability to meet global regulations which are ever evolving with the next aircraft produced by Boeing will be critical. Boeing is not adhering to, say, a firm time frame for the launch of what would be a 737 MAX replacement. However, it certainly remains in a position where it can at least devote some slight focus on the innovation of this family. Despite this focus on innovation, Boeing is also aware that it has many other areas that need to improve before it can truly progress with the formal launch of a new product. Not that it would be even ready at this point, but its financial position is one of the most integral elements that needs adjusting and certainly stabilizing and improving before we see anything new arrive. It is one of the core reasons, alongside many others, as to why we haven't had an aircraft launch in some time. I'm not including the 777-8F, I'm talking what many would put forward as your NMA. Unfortunately for Boeing, the position financially is far from optimal and is directly tied to the consistent production of the 737 MAX and certainly increases being achieved. This not being possible as restrictions were imposed by the Federal Aviation Administration at the beginning of 2024, and while meaningful progress has been made internally at Boeing on paper, the FAA has yet to lift the ban. Even though complexities exist in the business, Boeing is very much not naive. It knows that progress needs to be made for this new aircraft, so the plane maker is ready for when a launch needs to happen, and that is really a big focus now as we're in the mid-2020s. As the RFI has been put forward, it's up to your engine manufacturers to find a means to answer the call and provide their plans for the future, in a bid for Boeing to understand better the direction it wishes to head in terms of powering this new plane. It is quite ironic just how similar your manufacturers are in terms of aircraft and engines. There is a lot of focus on innovation at engine manufacturers such as Pratt & Whitney, however at the same time they're trying to overcome current obstacles. You could draw parallels to that of Boeing. And while the American plane maker certainly works more in the shadows, they face intense competition from Airbus, which has also identified in recent weeks its own planned A320neo replacement, with a hopeful engine selection on their end expected around the 2027 mark, of course timeframes subject to change. Airbus hopes the jet would then go on to launch 3 years later in 2030. Now, if that was a successful launch, and a launch in the sense of here is a new product, feel free to order it, you'd expect an entry into service 7 to 8 years later, nearing the end of the 2030s, or the mid to end waypoint. This would be over 2 decades after the A320neo model emerged, and that certainly aligns with the desire of many airlines to replace the jet and begin looking towards renewal efforts. Airbus knows that while the A320neo family currently occupies a very strong position, which is only going to continue, certainly aided by the visible backlog, Airbus simply cannot afford to let up. Any momentum it can maintain now will allow for greater success in the future with a new model. And what this means for Boeing, the focus in today's coverage is they have to diligently move ahead with their own MAX replacement in a bid to avoid falling behind in what is broadly considered a genuine new era for commercial air travel. If you get it right, you'll certainly reap the reward. Boeing doesn't want to be one step behind Airbus and have a similar occurrence to what the MAX has had. Despite the American manufacturer certainly working toward launching this behind the scenes, with so many woes affecting its progress, even just on base 737 models that have not been certified, it takes some of the resources away from innovation, and certainly the focus away on innovation in the public limelight. They know they have a lot more that needs to be rectified. I'm keen to hear your take as we begin to enter this new frame of discussion on that new commercial airliner, not just in the middle of the market, but strictly focusing on how we're going to go about replacing our existing single-aisle planes. It feels like just yesterday these planes were entering service, but as you know, in the aviation industry and certainly for manufacturers, they simply can't plan, say, 2 years out. We're talking 10 to 15 years with this new plane. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow for what will probably be another action-packed aviation news recap.
And we'll fly.